Welcome to the OCHO Bonus episode with Jason Richardson. And man, I gotta be honest, I am so excited about the movie you picked to talk to me about. I never, ever would have thought anybody would have picked this. This is the 1997 Fever Pitch starring Colin Firth, based on the Nick Hornsby novel about a guy who just grows up with an undying passion for the Arsenal football team. And I never would have expected one of my American friends to want to talk about this movie, but I'm so excited.
Shane?
Yeah,
Wait. 97?
Yeah,
What are you talking about, 97? I'm talking about the 2005 version, man. 2005.
Oh. I mean, okay, I guess we can talk about that. I guess we can talk about that movie. So the
version.
The baseball version?
The baseball version. Drew Barrymore. Jimmy Fallon, man.
I guess that makes a lot more sense that you would pick that version. Okay.
Of course.
All right. Well, do you remember the first time you saw this baseball movie?
So obviously 2005, I was working as a theater manager at AMC Greenwood. And so we would preview the films the night before they would open to make sure the films, set up correctly and whatnot.
Sure.
So that was my first time I watched it, and I just had a ball with it.
Did you watch it by yourself, or did you guys have other employees with you?
We had the employee screening watching it. Yeah,
that's awesome. Everybody else, was it an enjoyable crowd of people? You guys watching it?
Yeah, it's about probably 10, 15 of us.
Very
and
cool.
We went in just thinking okay, it's just going to be whatever baseball comedy, and it just turned out to be more than that. So
are you a baseball fan?
I am, to a degree. I played baseball as a young kid growing up, pee-wee, minor, majors. But then, once I got to high school, I kind of lost interest in playing, and I followed baseball for a while until the late 80s with the strikes and stuff.
Gotcha.
And then I kind of faded out at that point from following it.
All right, so it sounds like you had a fun experience watching it the first time. Did you instantly fall in love with the movie, or was it one that you thought it was okay and you had to watch it a couple more times for it to be your favorite sports movie?
No, it was one of those movies where in the midst of watching the movie, you knew it was something special, and I just dove right in, embraced it. And it's just one of those movies where you're just, while you're sitting there watching it, you don't want it to end. You're just kind of enthralled into it, and I enjoyed it for the first time I watched it.
Right on. Is there a favorite scene that you've got in it? Anything that stands out where you're when you think about this movie, this is the scene I always think about?
I still think the best scene is when Drew Barrymore gets whopped in the head with the baseball.
Oh, sure. Yep.
And knocked out. I mean, it's just that Farrelly Brothers humor.
Sure. Because she's working on her laptop, right? She's doing she's doing homework or something on her laptop. Is that the first game she ever went to with him, or was it one of the later ones?
I think it was maybe the second one.
Second one? Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, you're good. Go ahead.
No. I was just saying it was kind of unexpected, and so I just laughed, and it was just a genuine, instant laugh, and that's probably my favorite scene in the movie. But there's another scene, and I caught this later, but basically she's kind of acknowledging that he is a fanatic fan of the Red Sox.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, yeah, I know your apartment's filled with, this and that and Yankees toilet paper. And I caught that late, and I just burst out laughing. And that's the best part of the movie, is there are these little subtle moments of humor where you just laugh. And I love that about the movie.
The Farrelly Brothers do a good job with that kind of humor and whatnot. The just subtle lines that you catch on later viewings, like something about Mary. I probably every time I watch it, I catch a line where I'm like, oh, that's what they meant by that line. That's good. I didn't catch that before. So I feel like this probably has a lot of those that if I watched it again, I would probably catch some lines that I didn't the last time that I watched it, which has been a while ago. So when you watch the movie, do you associate and side with Drew Barrymore by being not a fanatical baseball fan, or do you still kind of associate with Jimmy Fallon as being a baseball fanatic?
Kind of a combination of both. I mean, ultimately, when I think of Fever Pitch, it's it's Drew Barrymore who I'm relating to, because so many people are sports fanatics and obsessed with sports, and it's just American pop culture. Just people embrace it, and it's America's love, and people are passionate about it. And for me, I kind of grew out of sports, and I kind of thought I was the guy outside of the circle of everyone who's so crazy about sports. And so I kind of relate to the Drew Barrymore kind of looking at the people who go crazy, who are the fanatics of baseball and such, or any sport really, and so I relate to her. But I mean, the movie is really about his craziness and passion, but also the way she's observing him. And I think that's the draw for me.
Nice. One of the things that I always found hilarious about the movie in general was when the script was first written and they first decided to make the movie about the Boston Red Sox. His character was supposed to be that like he loves the losers, like he loves the Red Sox because they hadn't won in like 90 some years. Right. And then literally the year they were filming this movie, as they win. The Red Sox went all the way to the World Series, and they had to completely rewrite the ending. They had to go and shoot them at like the game where they won the World Series so that they could put that in at the end of the movie. And I was like, I've always found that to be just like hilarious that they originally wrote it because the Red Sox couldn't pull it off. And then because they were filming it, it just so happened that year they had to completely change the like third act of the movie. I've always found that to be really fun and hilarious with that movie.
Well, think about, you're going in with a certain idea, and this is what you're going to kind of, put out and such. And then all of a sudden there's this big twist. And, after 80 something years, the Red Sox decide that they're going to win. And so you completely have to scrap the ending and change that. But imagine and kind of going through that process, how energetic that would have been,
Yeah, that's
even if you're not like a Red Sox, in a real life Red Sox fan, still just being a part of that experience would have been pretty cool.
Well, and like they couldn't have planned it any better because like because of that 80-year drought, it just makes that like such a better finale for the movie. Like they fell in love, and he gets the best of both worlds. He gets the girl, and his team gets the win. Like so. That was the one thing about that movie that I did enjoy with the ending. I can't lie, I didn't care for a lot of the movie, but I probably need to give it another watch. I wasn't happy about them changing it from football/soccer to baseball just to try to Americanize it. That kind of bothered me, but I understand they had to for the American audience.
Well, I mean, think about it this way. I didn't realize even until I knew I was going to do this video project with you here. I didn't realize that there was an original.
Yeah.
From 1997. And that was over in Europe?
Yep.
Yeah. So I didn't realize that it existed. So now I've got to watch that version.
Sure. Well, I'm sure you've seen like About a Boy.
Yes.
And the John Cusack radio movie that I'm so drawing a blank on, High Fidelity.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are both Nick Hornsby novels, and another. It's the same author that wrote the original Fever Pitch, but what the novel of Fever Pitch is it's literally his journal when he was growing up as an Arsenal soccer fan. He literally took all of his journal entries where he talked about, I went to the game with my dad today, and like he apparently kept super detailed accounts of like what him and his dad did at every single game, and then transferred that into the novel. So the novel itself is actually just a bunch of journal entries, and then in 97, some guys over in Britain turned it into the movie, where they basically made it a love story about a guy obsessed with Arsenal. He's a teacher at a school, and he meets another teacher, and they start having a thing, and then she doesn't realize that, like, he's this obsessed with it. Like, he has season tickets, and he goes to every match, and, like, she gets in way over her head, but then even after they break up, he still has to see her at work, and so it's just kind of an interesting dynamic.
I should definitely watch that.
Well, it is Colin Firth. Everybody loves Colin Firth.
Oh yeah. Well, and I like High Fidelity, and I really liked About a Boy a lot, so I should like that version then.
For sure. So one thing I like doing on these when I talk to somebody is I like checking out the Rotten Tomatoes scores for their favorite movie.
Okay.
So I got it pulled up over here. I want you to take a guess of what you think the critics would have scored it.
Oh, like what's the score currently?
Yeah, like what do you think the critics scored this movie for their count? There was 196 critics that reviewed
I don't
the
know,
movie.
somewhere in the 50s or halfway in the middle point or something.
Okay, it's better than you thought. It hit a 65.
Oh wow, okay.
The audience score was closer to what you thought. The audience score was a 60. So the audience and the critics were very kind of on the same level with that. The quote that they give is, "While not a home run, Fever Pitch has enough charm and on-screen chemistry between the two leads to make it a solid hit."
Well, and I agree with that totally. One reason why I really like this movie is Jimmy Fallon and Drew Barrymore have great chemistry, like Drew Barrymore does with Adam Sandler. There's just something that works and that's charming about it. And that was a big drive for me in the film. It just naturally worked with those two together.
For sure. Well, man, is there any last things you want to say about the movie?
I think there are a lot of different layers to it. I'll probably think of more things as you know, in the next coming days and whatnot. But if you think about it too, everyone should be able to relate to this movie somehow or another, even though it's the Americanized version.
Sure.
But you know, if you think about it, everyone can relate to the fact that you meet someone, you start dating, and not all the cards are out. You know, and you know, months and weeks go by, and then you start to learn things about the other. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the relatable thing about it, is it's about dating too, and getting to know your significant other and finding out crazy things about their you know, their likes and such, or just their personality, and then you have to try to work through that. That's, I think, a big part of that movie, which everyone can relate to.
For sure, definitely. Well, man, I really appreciate your time with this. Thank you for hanging out with me.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir.